Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 2 of my series on why exercise is not good for you. Most of you believe that exercise is the method that you need to use to go about weight loss, and you also believe that exercise is good for your mental health, and you also believe a whole bunch of other garbage about exercise that is not true in any way whatsoever, because exercise is incredibly damaging for the body if you are not covering your bases in the way that we're going to go over with this video here today. So basically, to understand this video, you need to understand one fundamental truth about exercise, and that is the fact, actually about disease. That is the fact that all disease is the result of trace mineral deficiency. Essentially, every disease you can name on planet Earth, whether it be arthritis, heart disease, brain cancer, cancer itself, anything you name, it all comes down to trace mineral deficiencies as the root cause. Even anything that is not directly caused by a trace mineral deficiency will be exacerbated by a trace mineral deficiency. So when it comes to health, if you have trace mineral deficiencies, you can't possibly claim that you're in good health and that you're not engaging in binge eating behavior, which is basically the reason none of you are in shape, because you don't have any idea in the world how to correct your trace mineral deficiencies that you don't even know you have, to ensure that you don't have binge eating disorder, to ensure that you won't keep gaining weight over time and getting in poorer and poorer health over time like all of you do. And all of you at the same time watch me get in better health as I age, and you still somehow sit here and call me crazy for knowing everything I'm going to go over here. Okay, so basically the reason that exercise is bad for you is that sweating causes you to lose trace minerals. Every time you go about sweating, you're losing trace minerals from the trace mineral stores that are in your body. These trace minerals are lost in sweat. You do not replace them because they can't be found in anything that you eat except for meat. And meat, quite frankly, does not have enough of the trace minerals or the wide variety of trace minerals that the body needs. It simply does not have enough for you. So you can't, so anybody out here arguing that the carnivore diet is a good diet? Nope. Meat doesn't have enough nutrients for you. Sorry to tell you that. Okay, the only thing I want to preface this before I go into this is that I have a preposterously long background in sports. I've played competitive sports year-round from age 5 to 14, travel teams, undefeated records, championships galore, all-time building records. I hold the all-time goals record at the Skate U, which is now known as the Incredible. I scored Incredible. Scored more goals than anybody in the history of that building. So don't give me any of this crap about how I'm not an athlete. I have a longer background to this than just about anybody you name. Secondly, you're an athlete no matter what you do in life, whether it's getting up out of bed in the morning or it's laying down to go to bed at night. That's still an athletic performance that you're undertaking. So no matter what the hell you do for work, whether you bend pipes, carry mail, lay bricks, work in an office, or even if you're physically handicapped and in a wheelchair, the information I'm going to go over here tonight is going to help you drastically in life. If you would like to, in any way whatsoever, seek a better life and feel better in this better life that you are seeking. Because you can't feel better if you don't go about doing just about everything I'm going to go over here tonight. No, that can be done in your own little way. So don't think you have to follow everything that I do to follow what I'm saying here. You don't even have to come, well, you kind of have to come close to following me in some ways. But you can eat a completely and entirely different diet than I do and still get from this same information the exact same benefits that I do. Just as long as you're avoiding the same foods that I am avoiding. That's about the only thing you have to do that I do to get the benefit from this information, other than take the nutrients that you need in supplement form for your body to repair itself. We'll go over this a little bit later, though.
I want to get into today Doc's newest statement, which is exercise without supplementation is suicide. And Doc, this is a very intriguing concept, But down through the years, you've had so many things be proven right time and time again. I guess my first question to you is, are you the Sherlock Holmes of healthcare?
I like to think so. I think that's probably a pretty kind description of what I do. And of course, the thing that made Sherlock Holmes famous was the fact that he would say just the opposite of what Scotland Yard was saying, and he was always right. I'd say you hit the nail right on the head. I like to be a Sherlock Holmes.
What got you onto this line of thinking, especially with the athletes? Right now, everybody's telling folks to exercise, so are they just putting their head in the noose?
They're actually putting their head in the noose. They're actually cutting their life by 30, 40, 50 years if they exercise and don't supplement. Where I ran into this was about 50 years ago. People began to study what sweat was. And there were these little bitty articles in biochemistry journals, the makeup of sweat. It was very interesting. Most people thought sweat was primarily just salt and water, but sweat contains everything that's in your blood. And as you sweat, the primary purpose, of course, is to cool your body, but you're also losing nutrients. You're losing amino acids, you're losing vitamins, you're losing major minerals, you're losing electrolytes, you're losing trace minerals, rare earths. And it's kind of a trickle charge. It's kind of like the toilet that just sort of runs a little bit, drip, 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 and you get a water bill for $500 at the end of the month. Doesn't seem like much, but it does in fact cost you in health and longevity.
All right, so I got a list here of 9 things we're going to go over in this presentation here tonight. So basically, the first one is, this will explain why I have such a ridiculously easy time staying in shape. I don't even have to count calories. I don't have to do anything in the world. I just have to make sure that I don't do the bad things that I know would destroy my body's ability to uptake nutrients into my bloodstream. As long as I don't do anything that affects that ability there, I have pretty much no trouble staying in shape and having at least an 8-pack abs for the rest of my life with no questions asked whatsoever. Okay, so the second thing here, this will explain why all your favorite athletes become shells of themselves by 30, and by favorite athletes, I also mean your parents who also became shells of themselves by the time they turned 30. When we're talking about 40 here, I think we've all seen how the boomers have aged and taken to that age. So, number 3 here is, this will explain why no matter who you are or what your job is, your body will break down as you age. It does not matter who you are if you don't actively work to prevent this in the ways that we're going to go over here tonight. It will happen to you. Number 4, pretty much no matter what you do, unless you follow this man's truths right here, you won't age gracefully in any way whatsoever. So for women, that means your skin's going to get all wrinkly and you're going to get ugly faster than you should be. So if you don't follow what I'm about to share here, women, you're going to age terribly. And a lot of what he's going to go over here is going to be directly antithetical to what you think you need to do as a woman to age gracefully. So listen up real close if you don't want to get a bunch of wrinkles and sagging skin and have all that cellulite all over you, because cellulite, wrinkled skin, saggy skin, everything is both reversible and preventable. You can, with what I'm giving you here, you can get more worth out of your body than what a $50,000 facelift can get you. You can go to Palmdale Beach. I don't even know where they do these things at. Wherever the hell they do the most expensive facelifts on earth, well, you can go there and get one of their most expensive facelifts on earth. And it's not going to do a damn thing for you if you aren't following this right here. This is worth more than the most expensive facelift on earth. So if you're a woman and you want the most expensive facelift on earth, well, you're going to have to go about it by changing your gut microbiome. Number 5, this will explain why your pains and health problems are all preventable, provided that you actually work to prevent them. Number 6, unless you are following this, you should not be exercising, because you will get hurt from it.
You can lower your cholesterol by running. You can lower your body weight a couple of points. You can get your body percentage of fat down. There's all kinds of wonders to running. How healthy it is. It's good for the cardiovascular system. They're always kind of fascinating to me. There was never anything that said athletes live longer. So I decided to do my own survey, and I started looking at obituaries of professional athletes and university and college athletes compared with obituaries of couch potatoes. It's always kind of funny that librarians live to be 103, 104, conductors live to be 89, 95, and housewives live to be 115, and so forth. And the old couch potato lives to be 88 to 120. And professional athletes, the average lifespan is 62 to 65. The ones who play the most, the ones who are the stars, die the youngest. And you look at some of the famous ones, Red Grange, Jesse Owens, people like Wilma Rudolph, Babe Zaharias. You're probably too young to remember her, but she was one of the first great women athletes who could whip men in about 10 different sports. And then there was people like Will Chamberlain, age 63, congestive heart failure. Walter Payton, 45 years of age, died while he was waiting for a liver transplant. He was a pristine athlete, never did drugs, never smoked, never did alcohol.
I know the basketball player. There was a real...
Reggie Lewis, 27 years old.
Here we go.
Died of a cardiomyopathy heart attack, a simple selenium deficiency. He was about as fit as a human being could get. Then there was Sergei Grinkov, 28 years old, a 2-time gold medal winner in figure skating. It's not just basketball players or track stars. You can be a figure skater and die young. You can be a boxer. You can be a baseball player. I have a lot of very famous baseball players. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Don Drysdale. I have all their obituaries. I actually have one was a pitcher for the San Diego Padres, and he was only 24 years old, and he was felled by a cardiomyopathy heart attack, and they were just shocked because he'd just come up from the minors. You're sweating and not replacing those minerals you're sweating out. You're doomed to have a lot of injuries and anything that might relate to mineral and nutrient deficiencies, and certainly you're going to shorten your life if you're not replacing everything you're sweating out.
Number 7, young athletes who are prone to sprains, tears, and breaks, and other things wrong with their body. They will never come back the same from injury, and they don't stand a chance of having a long athletic career because the underlying reason for all soft tissue injury and all injury to the bone structure of the body, well, it's depleted nutritional status. So if you don't correct that depleted nutritional status that is causing injury in young athletes, you will not have a long career because it will become something that is like a reprobate criminal acting on your body. It will never stop acting on your body until you fix the underlying depletion of your nutritional stores that are causing injury to your bone structure and your soft tissue. So number 8 here is all pains in old age, and I kind of went over this a little bit, and age-related skin sagging are preventable. I already talked about this. The $1 million facelift can be yours. In fact, in my own experience, everybody thinks I'm the younger brother of my own siblings, and I'm not even close to that. You could have that too if you follow this right here. People that I know that follow this information here will often say things like, my friends tell me, are you getting younger? It doesn't seem possible, but you're actually getting younger. Well, that would be the same thing with me if I actually went about talking to anybody. I do not. I don't talk to anybody at all. Mainly because you're not smart enough to grasp very simple truths that I lay out with a red carpet for you and have for a decade now, and somehow everybody I know can't follow this. I don't understand it. I followed it, and it helped me in ways I can't even fucking begin to describe. But somehow, I'm the only person smart enough to follow this. So because of that, I don't talk to anybody at all. Anybody. Like, I don't give a fuck what you got to say, think, or do, because you don't know jack fucking shit. And pretty much, if you don't know what we're going over here, you don't know jack fucking shit. Like, you don't know jack shit. Don't fucking tell me you do, because I'll tell you right to your face that you don't. Okay, so number 9 and final one here. This drastically increases the range of years that I can productively work comfortably. I can comfortably work for much longer periods of time with nothing damaging happening to my body because I know how to repair the damage that working long periods of time causes to the body. And I also don't eat any of the convenience foods that most people eat when they work long periods of time that further destroy the body. I get around that through various ways like eating healthy or simply fasting, aka abstaining from food for the entirety of the work period. So I have a much longer window of earning potential than all of you. So anybody out here talking smack about this money thing, it ain't over yet, pal. You're damn near crippled already, and I am not.
Have access to trace minerals we gave to calves. And so putting together practical experience and taking advantage of some, what was 50 years ago, esoteric research, what's in sweat kind of thing, put it together, and came up about 25 years ago that you were, in fact, throwing your life away if you were exercising and not replacing the minerals you're sweating out.
Wow. It kind of reminds me back, I don't even know when this was, but all of a sudden jogging came up, and was it Bill Kick?
Jim Fix.
Fix, okay.
They're close. Jim Fix is spelled with 2 X's, F-I-X-X. And, of course, he died at 52, and he wrote all the books, Run Your Way to Health, Jog Your Way to Health, and there wouldn't be any running shoes.
And yeah, wasn't it a number of the runners, including him, just all of a sudden died?
They all do. They all die suddenly. Pretty profound statement. All these guys are supposed to be healthy. They have 4% body fat. What it is, they're sweating out all of their minerals, which protect them from various diseases, including ruptured aneurysms, including heart attacks. In fact, there was a long-distance runner who died in July of 2000. His name was Leonard Hilton. He ran the sub-4-minute mile 32 times, and he was a student of Jim Fix's, and always praised Jim Fix and all his knowledge and training techniques. And Jim Fix died at 52, and Leonard Hilton, Jim Fix's student, died at 52. That's pretty much what you're going to get. There has never been a professional athlete living to be 100. And if exercise in itself was useful for health and longevity, there should be a lot of professional athletes living to be 100. Not a single one, Craig.
Wow. It might have been you that says a couch potato is actually living longer than these guys.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's
All right, now everything here, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm unbelievably, you can't even possibly begin to understand how enthusiastic I am about this information because of what it did for me. Okay, so what happened with me is I spent multiple years from about age 14 to about age 22 with numerous issues in pain in my body that covered 2 different periods of time. The first period would be from age about 5 to 15. Well, 14 actually. So in that period, I fucked up my plantar fascia. So about 8th grade, I screwed up my plantar fascia. And from that, I couldn't run again until about 10th grade. And there's basically nothing I could do about this because in my family, we were abused. So we didn't get health care. And it's not like health care would have actually fixed my issue with my plantar fascia anyway. It was from overuse of my body. So I can't even, all I could say about that is it was a learning experience for me. And for my family that doesn't know why I quit sports, that was a huge part of why I quit sports at a young age. I had a plantar fascia so bad I couldn't even fucking run for 2.5 years straight. And nobody said a word to me. Hey kid, what happened to your speed? What happened here, pal? Nope, nobody said a word. They just expected me to keep going and grinding it out like a bunch of fucking idiots would. And that's pretty much the exact attitude that leads all of you to sports and work-related injury. Grinding it out is not how you go about things. When you hurt, you stop. It's pretty simple. And you can pretty much stop all hurting from what we're going to go over in this video here. So basically, and then the second period of time, I actually tried to come back after I got the ability to run again around the end of 10th grade. So I could run again for most of my life up until about 21 or 22, somewhere around there. I was doing fairly well, and I got really heavily into working out and doing anything I could from an athletic standpoint, to the point where I was actually working out for 3 hours a day on average from about age 18 to 21. And actually, in all that time of working out, I didn't get anything done on my body. I was a weak, frail weakling like most people are. And I had a beer gut, not even from drinking beer. I had a gluten belly. Most people get it from drinking beer. So I had that going on. I worked out 3 years straight like a madman. Didn't change anything about my body. Didn't change anything at all because I didn't change anything at all about how I ate. So, eventually, by the time I got done with this cycle of working out like a freak, I was about 22, and I retired from sport after this because my back and knees were so screwed up that basically if I went and played basketball for an hour, I'd have to spend 3 days rehabbing my back just to make it feel right again. And then my knees, shit, couldn't even stand for more than a couple of hours without them severely hurting, which a lot of people deal with that, so I'm not going to sit here and whine about the pain that I had. I'm just telling you what I had.
And so I decided to take the same concept that we did for animals, where we have special diets for animals with heart disease, kidney disease, intestinal disease, liver disease, eye disease, and so on. These diets are formulated so the animal can't pick out what they want. It has everything in there necessary to focus nutritionally on that particular organ or organ system. And I just said, well, if it works in animals so well, which it does, why wouldn't it work in people? And so about, I'd say 1978, after trying from 64 to 78, which is 14, 15 years, I'd written my scientific articles and books and lectured to doctors, and I couldn't get doctors interested in the concept. They pat me on the back, say, oh, that's very interesting, but that's in animals, not people. So I went back to school and became a physician and began to use these preventive and treatment concepts of nutrition like we did in animals, and certainly the concept works like a charm in people just like it does in animals.
That's maybe why the gentleman that told me about you said, talk to Doc Wallach, he may treat you like a dog, but you'll get better.
That was a little thing that my patients came up with because I used to hang my veterinary degree on the wall next to the medical degree, and patients would come in, their eyes would get real big. But after a while, they kind of realized where I was coming from, and they started with a joke telling their friends, hey, if you're not happy with what your doctor's doing for you, go see Wallach. Now, he'll treat you like a dog, but you get better.
A lot of people deal with this, so everybody knows what I'm talking about. For whatever reason, I got information sent to me by somebody that was related to diet, and it basically taught me that everything we're eating is poison and killing us, and we shouldn't be eating it. And the original source that I got this from was coming from a vegetarian perspective, and they actually did have a lot of their information correct. A lot of vegetarian ideas are good for you and help you in a lot of ways, so I became a vegetarian overnight. And basically what happened is I felt amazing for about 6 months straight. I lived on rice and beans and corn and bamboo and a bunch of other stuff that didn't work. But because I got all the crappy stuff out of my diet, I felt amazing for about 6 months. So I do about so the first 6 months goes well on vegetarian. After that, I do another 6 months of vegetarian, which is like the other side of this, where it became apparent that vegetarianism wasn't working because my body broke down even worse than it ever had been to anything up to that point. So I wasn't even working out at this point, and my body had gotten even worse after feeling amazing from being a vegetarian for 6 months. So pretty much, I ended up finding information from somebody who did a form of the carnivore diet. I'll put a link in the description box to what I'm talking about and exactly what I found. If you want to read it for yourself, it's still pretty valid information. The same thing with the vegetarian stuff. But this time, what happened was, how it turns out is if you don't eat meat, you end up with cholesterol deficiencies. So I fixed my cholesterol deficiencies from switching overnight from a vegetarian to a carnivore diet. So I went from nothing but plants to nothing but meat literally overnight. Because of that, I fixed my cholesterol deficiency, and I got into learning a whole bunch of new stuff about dietary perspectives because I switched to the carnivore diet, and I didn't know anything about how cholesterol was good for you, how saturated fat is good for you. Provide a bunch of stuff if you don't already know about how these things are good for you in the information box below. So if you don't already know cholesterol is good for you, it's extremely good for you, and you will suffer from an epidemic of disease for the rest of your life if you eliminate cholesterol from your diet and don't go about replacing it in a way that is adequate for a vegetarian, which most vegetarians do not do. It can be done. Most vegetarians do not do it, though. So if you don't go about going like that, you'll end up screwed up like I was. So anyways, I get better on the carnivore diet, but I was still pretty much struggling with bodily pains, and I could not quit junk food for the life of me. So I was following the carnivore diet, and I'd go about 7 days. It happened like clockwork. I'd go 6-7 days with eating strict carnivore, doing pretty well on my diet. And then I'd break down, and I'd usually eat like a full carton of ice cream and like a couple toaster strudels or a huge box of cereal, whatever you call it. It didn't really matter. I couldn't control my junk food cravings for more than 7 days at a time. So after I found out about all this information...
Can't these guys figure this out?
Well, what happens is they hire these personal trainers, and they hire trainers, and they hire people who are nutritionists, and they're worried about their fat intake, and they're worried about strength training. They believe, falsely, that strength training is the answer for joint health. The more muscle you build up around the joint, the less likely you are to injure it. That's absolutely nonsense. Just ask Bo Jackson. You remember him? He was a straight two sports player, professional player in baseball and football, and he dislocated a hip joint and fractured the head of the femur, the ball part of the ball and socket joint, and they talked him into putting an artificial joint in, and of course he ran around like Chester from the old Gunsmoke days.
I remember him.
With that one leg, and he was a huge man. His thighs were bigger around my chest. He was a big man. And so they said, well, why don't we even, we'll just take the good hip and we'll put an artificial joint in there, and then you'll be Superman. Well, of course, after that happened, he hit a few baseballs, and that was about it. His career was done. But if he'd been supplementing properly, these guys could play into their 40s and 50s. I've seen this happen. We have a lot of professional athletes who had to quit their sport after 8, 10, 12 years because of joint problems. We get them on our nutrient replacement programs, and just in 6 months' time, they're stronger and more fit and have more agility and flexibility than they were when they were actually playing. And they shake their heads and they say, why didn't our high-priced $1 million a year trainers tell us this? And I say, well, they don't know it because they're reading from doctor-written nutrition books. They're reading from doctor-written sports medicine books.
These folks just don't seem to have gotten the message yet.
Oh, they haven't, because they make their money by doing joint replacement surgeries. They make their money by doing arthroscopic surgery. They make their money by removing meniscus. They make their money by repairing torn ligaments. And so that's what they're in the business of doing. They are not interested in preventing these injuries because they make their money by repairing them.
You're going to find out what I found out, which is the exact information that will follow this right here. Everything. This added the layer on top of the cake that I was already learning that made the whole thing work. This layer of cake that I'm talking about that we're about to go into and explore, well, this is what most people never learn about diet, exercise, or anything to do with health. Like, a lot of people learn a lot of good things about diet, but they don't learn about the importance of trace minerals and what they do in the body. And that sweat itself is causing you to lose the trace minerals that you can't get from your diet no matter what diet you eat. Doesn't matter what diet you eat, none of this is found in food. So essentially, while everything I had learned was worthwhile information that helped me understand the importance of good food, it was never and could not ever have been enough to fix my issues with my body that caused me to quit athletics entirely for multiple years at a time. Because I didn't feel comfortable with where my body felt to come back from it, even after learning about this, because I wanted to give my body time to heal from what I had done to it, which is what most of you will never do, because when you go about your weight loss thing, you're playing the role of the hare. See, I'm playing the role of the tortoise. I'm just walking casually to the finish line. You're out there sprinting, going nuts, and it's not working for you, clearly and obviously. And it clearly and obviously works for me when you see me in real life.
Wasn't it Holyfield that actually was able to come back?
Right, yeah. Evander Holyfield is kind of an interesting guy. He quit in one of his fights. I guess it was against Tyson. He just quit. He just couldn't go on because of lack of strength. His heart began to give out. He had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease. And through a mutual friend, actually a guy who lives across the street from Evander Holyfield, Andrew Young, you may remember the name, he was ambassador to the UN, and we were able to save Andrew Young's knees. And Andy Young said, well, why don't I see if I can take the message of Evander Holyfield? We got Evander Holyfield taking some selenium, and sure enough, we were able to get his heart going again through the selenium supplementation. Actually, a more complete program than that, but it included special interest in the selenium part of the program. And as you see, he was able to come back and defend his title several times. And of course, he's in boxing, not necessarily to the level he wanted to be. He lost the last couple of fights, but he's a remarkable athlete. And without that supplementation, he would have been finished a long time ago.
Looking at your background, you have kind of a unique background to be talking about human nutrition. But I think it probably gives you an interesting perspective. I know you started as an ag major and went to veterinary school first, and then you did a lot of research with the human studies.
Well, I think the advantage that gives me, Craig, is that in animals, we don't have insurance. We don't have Blue Cross, Blue Shield, major medical, hospitalization, Medicare, Medicaid. We don't have personal trainers. We don't have personal nutritionists. And so what we had to learn to do was prevent cure diseases in animals with nutritional formulas. Very economical to do it that way on a herd basis. Put everything in their feed pellets. And that's why we have mouse pellets, rat pellets, hamster pellets, guinea pig pellets, rabbit pellets, duck pellets, goose pellets, hen laying mash, chick pellets, poult pellets, horse pellets, sheep pellets, and so on. And dog food canned, dried, cat food canned and dried. And every one of these rations is a perfect mix of every known nutrient necessary for these animals. And if we were to use a human healthcare type of system, especially the sports medicine system in animals, it'd be sticker shock for you. Your hamburger would cost you $275 a pound just to pay for the healthcare.
The title of this is called Dead Athletes Don't Lie. See, when you sweat and eat a bunch of garbage and you never put anything good back in your body that you need to survive, well, see, you should drop dead like athletes do. See, that's why it's called Dead Athletes Don't Lie. So basically, if you can't figure out how to break habits, none of this matters for you. It doesn't matter what I teach you, because if you don't break your habits, this doesn't work for you anyways. This is because none of this will work without the ability to absorb nutrients. So going back to the original preface, all disease is caused by trace mineral deficiency. To be able to not have trace mineral deficiency, you have to be able to absorb nutrients. To heal, you have to be able to absorb nutrients. To be able to use nutrients, you have to be able to absorb them. And if you can't absorb nutrients, well, you can't heal. So if you consume anything carbonated, anything fried or cooked with oil, and anything made from gluten, so all beer in existence, all energy drinks, and all soda, along with anything at all fried in the oil of any fast food restaurant in America, and that includes the beef tallow frying too. Because you're consuming a diet, if you consume anything that I just named, you're consuming a diet that destroys the gut microbiome. If you destroy the gut microbiome, you can't uptake nutrients into the blood. If you can't uptake nutrients into the blood, you can't reverse disease. And because of that, none of this works. So if you're going to go on eating anything I just named, gluten, anything fried in any oil anywhere, and any soda or energy drinks at all, you don't have a living gut microbiome. You don't have an adequate balance between the bacteria and your gut microbiome. And you also have weakened stomach acid. So every chain of digestion you need to avoid disease, to be able to, through the uptake of nutrients into the bloodstream, well, you're never going to be able to reverse that, because if you're still eating these foods, you will have irreversible gut microbiome damage, and you need the gut microbiome to be able to absorb nutrients that you need to heal yourself in the first place. So none of this works if you're not eliminating these foods. You have lesions in your stomach lining if you're eating anything fried from any fast food restaurant, which is called leaky gut. And most of this, and a lot of you that have leaky gut, you won't even get symptoms from it. There's the GMO crops that are used to make the oil. That's the reason you have the lesions in your stomach lining. It's also part of the reason you have weakened stomach acid. That more comes into play with gluten and carbonation. To be able to absorb nutrients, you have to have strong stomach acid. And if you're consuming carbonated beverages on a daily basis, you do not have adequate stomach acid production, because it has been neutralized through long-term consumption of carbonated beverages. Also, another problem here with athletics comes into play if you're consuming wheat, sugar, canola, and many other crops that are contaminated to absurd degrees with glyphosate. Well, you don't have an adequate bone structure, and if you don't have an adequate bone structure from eating glyphosate, well, you're going to have broken down bones. And see, if you want to be running around doing all kinds of crazy stuff, which can be good for you, we're going to go over this. It can be good for you to run around and do all kinds of crazy stuff with your body because it releases all kinds of chemicals in your brain that make you feel good, all kinds of other stuff. See, it can be good for you, but only if you're not eating glyphosate. And glyphosate is covered in basically everything sold everywhere. Like, if you leave the house and you buy something that's not on the outer aisles of the grocery store, so like meat, dairy, fruit, vegetables, eggs, and even a lot of dairy is pretty bad for you. Nuts, that type of thing. Well, see, if you're not doing that, you're eating food contaminated with glyphosate. And what happens is glyphosate replaces the amino acid called glycine in your bone matrix. So glycine is one of the most important things in all of the ligaments, all of the tendons, and also the formation of bone in your body. So you're having deformed bones without knowing it, which is going to cause you to have pain as you age because of your consumption of glyphosate. And this is because glyphosate literally invades the body and replaces glycine. It's part of the toxic delivery of GMO crops to the body. Like, this is what it does to you. All GMO crops are covered with glyphosate to be grown, and this glyphosate replaces the glycine in your body. I'll give you plenty of information you need to study this in the description box below. So check the timestamp of where you're listening to the video right now, and check the information if you want to learn about what glyphosate is doing to you. So those are like 4 of the main angles you're coming into play here with why you should not be exercising if you're consuming these foods. And that's before you even get into the nutrient depletion that is causing the vast majority of your problems like this.
Not to mention kids like that or young people like that blowing out a knee, they've just thrown away a lot of money.
That's correct. Not only the investment they've already put in, but paying forward, so to speak, their future investment in their life, because they know when they excel and so forth and have all these benefits of the training and they have this natural talent, is really a shame. And so I do make an appeal to parents and coaches and trainers out there who might be listening to call your toll-free number, get the information, and give these young athletes a more complete replacement program. So if they do get injured, if you run into a wall, you're going to get injured, you can repair quicker. The likelihood of injury is very, very slim, just simply by replacing everything you're sweating out.
Got it. People listening to this, a lot of folks, we're talking about nutrition especially, will say, well, how long do I need to take these sort of things?
You take all these supplements properly until you stop using oxygen.
Got it.
There's a reason for that, and that's because our foods do not contain these nutrients. And no matter how well you eat, you can spend $1 million per meal, and you're still not going to get everything you need by eating. And so you do have to consciously supplement, whether you sweat or not. But if you sweat, you're really obligated to do it in a very, very intense way.
Calcium deficiency, from everything that we've talked about in the past, seems to be...
All right, so because of my ability to say no to the poison around me, I got better really fast by following everything you're hearing in this video here. So if you can't do this, then it won't work for you and you won't get better, and your pain never stops, and you just keep living a life of being broken down, and you're going to die at a relatively young age that you shouldn't die at. A lot of people think living to 75 is old, but that's not old at all. You should still be doing push-ups when you're 75. Like, you should be hacking out 20 push-ups with ease at age 75. And if you don't believe that that should be the norm for humanity, well, I don't know what to tell you. You've been secularized by the medical establishment to believe that life, it works the way that the medical establishment says life works. It does not work in any way whatsoever in any way close whatsoever to the way the medical establishment tells you life works. If you can maintain discipline for your life, you can become like me, where I am in ridiculously great shape, have zero health issues, and I don't have any health insurance whatsoever, and I won't ever have or need health insurance ever again for the rest of my life. Just to clear that up, I don't have health insurance because of what you're learning here, and I will never be robbed blind for a service that I do not need, like health insurance. Health insurance is nothing but a bet that you will run up a gigantic medical bill because of whatever sickness and disease befalls you due to the nutritional deficiencies, aka trace mineral deficiencies, that you have allowed to occur in your body that have led to you being diseased, weak, and in pain. If you have any need for the medical establishment whatsoever, it's because you have trace mineral deficiencies caused by the way you eat. I don't want to hear any garbage, anyone arguing with me in any way whatsoever on this. I already put my bottom dollar down. My bottom dollar's been down for 16 years now. I'm 34. I've never seen a doctor since I turned 18, and I never even saw one as a kid because my parents wouldn't fucking take me to one. I saw one a couple times, and it was the most useless thing in my life. I had a broken finger. To fix it, they wanted to smash my finger with a hammer and break it again. I was like 12 years old, and I'm like, okay, these people are fucking insane. I'm not coming back here. So even though I couldn't even get medical care if I wanted, I wasn't fucking taking it even when I was 12 years old. Like, you're telling me you're going to break my finger with a hammer to fix it? Like, are you insane? And that's pretty much how all of medicine goes. We're going to take a hammer and we're going to break something and hope it works. That's not a smart play. See, the bigger hammer and the biggest hammer you could possibly take is the hammer Dr. Joel Wallach is talking about with the Healthy Start Pack. With the Healthy Start Pack, you will never need health care ever again because as long as you don't eat the bad foods that interfere with your absorption of the Healthy Start Pack, you will never have another health problem again because the Healthy Start Pack is giving you everything that you need to ensure that you can't ever have a health problem again because it covers all of your bases from a standpoint of nutritional needs. Because if you cover all your bases from a standpoint of nutritional needs, you never have another health problem again because they are all caused by nutritional deficiencies. If you don't have any nutritional deficiencies, you can't have nutritional deficiency-caused diseases. So, say what you want about me. I haven't seen a doctor in my adult life, and I completely reversed every health issue that I had that if I would have went to a doctor for, I'd be a drug addict like most of the people around me now.
Died suddenly from that.
But Doc, what if someone were to come to you and say, I have a son that's in football or does a lot of athletics or even a professional athlete, what would you tell them to protect themselves?
Well, basically what they have to do is take a good basic supplement program that gives them all 90 essential nutrients plus the raw materials to develop properly and maintain, repair cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, bone matrix, lay down the minerals necessary for a healthy and happy bone. Also, instead of just using water or Gatorade or one of the soft drinks as a fluid replacement as they're sweating before, during, and after the events in the training session, a sports drink, it has amino acids, vitamins, electrolytes, major minerals, trace minerals, and rare earths in it, plus 3 time-release energy sources. Tastes very good, and it's a concentrate. You put an ounce of this into a quart of water, a liter of water, and sip on that. You're going to trickle charge everything back into your system that you're losing as you sweat. And not only will this athlete reduce their risk of death and injury, but also their stamina is going to go way up. They will be much stronger in the third and fourth quarters. They'll be much stronger in the long-distance races in that last lap. They're going to be much stronger in any event than the opponents.
Excellent.
Have that need for caffeine because of your trace mineral deficiencies. You wouldn't be tired needing caffeine waking up every morning because your trace mineral deficiencies wouldn't be present if you fixed them. You're only tired because of your trace mineral deficiencies. This kind of comes back into the whole thing of going to the fucking gym in the first place. Like, most people don't have the energy to go to the gym in the first place because they have a huge variety of trace mineral deficiencies underlying and affecting their health. And they have no idea how to fix that. So they'll never be able to fix that, and until they do, their energy will be in the gutter for the rest of their lives. I myself already experienced this when I was like 23 years old. Again, I ran into a point of no longer having energy to do the things I wanted to do. Well, I fixed the trace mineral deficiencies and the energy came back. So, for me, if you know me, I honestly cannot even begin to believe that you don't know this information already. Like, I've shared this information with so many people, it's staggering. I've shared the link for Dead Athletes Don't Lie at least 10,000 times. And nobody's ever listened to a word I've had to say about it. And, well, I honestly don't even care. But at the same time, I get it. Like, I've watched my whole family laugh at me and mock me and ridicule me behind my back. My entire fucking family ridiculing me behind my back for trying to tell them this and trying to tell them they're going to die from how they eat. Then my fucking dad dies at 62, and these dumbasses are wondering, like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. My precious daddy died at 62. Oh my God, my precious husband died at 62. Who could have seen it coming? Oh wait, the fucking guy you laughed at and ridiculed for 10 years straight and told you you're gonna die soon. Yeah, he could have seen it coming. And like, for me, it wasn't even remotely close to a surprise to pick up a call. Hey, kid, your dad's dead. Yeah, like, yeah, I fucking knew that was going to happen, pal. Somehow nobody else did. Somehow I was the only one. Oh, wait, I forgot. I'm the only one who tells the truth, so that's probably why.
Calcium deficiency, from everything that we've talked about in the past, seems to be, again, you use the word epidemic. And wasn't that what got your attention at one point in time with twitching eye or something, if I remember the story?
Yeah, my personal story was I was a teenager, 14 years old, and my eyelids would twitch so bad, you could actually hear them making a noise, clicking. And I asked my mom what it was, and she didn't know, and she panicked because she could see my eyelids jerking. It looked like I had some kind of electrical thing on there. My eyelids were just twitching. It looked awful. And she took me to an eye doctor. We had to drive 80 miles to St. Louis to go to one of the top eye doctors. And after a long day, she finally determined that my eyelashes were long and they were hitting my glasses and curling back and tickling my eyeballs. And she gave me a Maybelline mascara eyelash brush, and she said I had to retrain my eyelashes.
Oh, I bet that went over well.
Oh, yeah, it did go over very well. Of course, I was playing football and wrestling, and I could just imagine myself sitting on the bench there with 25 or 30, 200-pound guys playing with my eyelashes with a Maybelline eyelash brush. And so I dismissed that suggestion, went to the school library, and started looking up muscle cramps and muscle twitches in a health book written by a couple of nurses, and they said very clearly that muscle cramps and muscle twitches are caused by calcium deficiency.
All right, now getting into the meat here now, boy. Well, this here is Dead Athletes Don't Lie, and the underlying truth here is that exercise without optimal and complete mineral supplementation is suicide. In some ways, you could potentially get by without supplementing vitamins and amino acids because you can get those from food. You cannot get anything out of exercise except pain, misery, and the breakdown of your body over time without complete and optimal mineral supplementation, and you will eventually commit suicide if you do not go about obtaining this optimal and complete mineral supplementation every single day of your entire exercise career. Any day that you go by not getting complete and optimal mineral supplementation before, during, and after exercise is a suicidal act. Now, for those of us who are remembering to do this roughly 95 to 99% of the time, you do not and are not undergoing a suicidal act. But for anybody who is exercising and is not obtaining complete and optimal mineral supplementation, you are partaking in an act of suicidal behavior, whether you want to define it as these words or not. That is what it is in a nutshell. The living proof of this is the very fact that athletes die at a very young age, and it's provable using obituary science. NFL players on average die at either 49 or 52. MLB players die at an average of like 58. You'll probably hear all the stats in the video. I forgot if they're included in here or not. But even in a vacuum where somehow food couldn't play a role in the inhibiting of the absorption of nutrients, you would still all be sick and in pain. Even if you could somehow eat a diet that wasn't causing you to lose your ability to uptake nutrients into the blood, and with this prevent disease, well, you would still be undergoing a detrimental act to the body when you undergo exercise, because you're not replacing what you sweat out. So even if you lived in some magical fairyland where you were doing everything right and except for replacing your trace minerals, you would still end up diseased because you're not replacing what you're losing through sweat.
The calf pellets that we gave the calves, we had plenty of calcium in. When all the other kids were eating candy and so forth, I was eating calf pellets. And at a very early age, I was very aware that mineral supplements were very, very necessary. And like I said, I would take a fencing tool and knock a corner off one of the trace mineral salt blocks. I would take calcium supplements because I was small. and playing football, middle linebacker, I just never got injured in 4 years of playing because even though I was extremely aggressive, because I was taking all the raw materials to rebuild my body. And in wrestling, where you sweat more than anything else, I would spend most of my day not in class. I was running up and down the stadium steps, the football stadium, just to stay fit for my wrestling program. And I know I sweat out a couple of quarts of sweat a day. And without replacing those nutrients, I know I would have some injuries at least, and certainly may have died. And you may recall, a couple of years ago, there were many wrestlers who died suddenly.
Yes.
Tried to blame it on some of the supplements they were taking, but basically they were wearing rubber suits and trying to lose 5 or 10 pounds to get down into a lower weight class, and they just sweat out all their nutrients and died suddenly from that.
Well, Doc, what if someone...
Even if by some miracle that gluten wasn't killing your digestive tract every time you eat it, you still wouldn't be able to benefit from this information because you would still be undergoing the loss of trace minerals through your sweat that you don't replace from your diet. You sweat while you sleep, so even if you didn't exercise, you would still be undergoing bodily pains through sweating that you don't even realize is actually having an impact upon your health. It's not possible to not sweat. So the general principles that are underlying the truth that I'm trying to share here, you can't escape them. You can't even escape them while you're asleep. The entire point of this video here is that athletes' bodies break down the most because of this. So athletes sweat the most, more than anyone, by far. That's why they break down the fastest and die at a younger age on average than non-athletes will die. So that's why this is called Dead Athletes Don't Lie, because athletes always die young. That's part of the reason my dipshit fucking moron dad died young. He spent his whole life thinking he was some kind of big wrestler. He was a real wrestler, grappling in the old circle. So he was a real wrestler, and he sweat his ass off all his life. That's part of why I knew he was going to die, because he didn't fucking listen to a word I had to say about any of this. So, again, dead athletes don't lie. If you're an athlete, you die young, because you're not doing everything that's gone over in this video here. And also, this is a reason why this is such a huge worry, or why health is such a huge worry in all of your lives. Like, if you're not aware that trace mineral deficiencies are the root cause of disease, well, I can imagine that health is going to be your biggest worry in the world. And I imagine you're going to want to spend something like 30% of your income in a futile attempt to obtain care from medical professionals that will only make you sicker. Like, I could see why you spend so much of your money if you don't know any of this that I'm sharing here. For me, health is the least of my worries. That's why I walk around every single day not having health insurance and not giving a flying fuck about it. Because I know the whole thing's a damn scam and I don't need it. So I don't ever have to worry about it. It's pretty simple. But it's pretty much the first of all of your worries. Like, everything about you is, please, God, don't let me get a gigantic medical bill. Please, God, don't let me get a gigantic medical bill. And it's never, and you never listen to God tell you back, like, hey, listen to that guy that's telling you the one thing that nobody ever fucking told you before in your life.
There are so many people who break down, regardless of their age, whether they're in their teens, on their young adults in their 20s or 30s, yet middle-aged people, and they break down. They say to me, Doc, I don't know why I'm breaking down like this. I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all my fitness stuff, and I'm drinking all the water. I'm keeping hydrated. I'm exercising, or I'm drinking one of these other sports drinks, energy drinks, and you start showing the comparison. Right. And they say, well, wait a minute, this very famous sports drink only has 2 minerals in it, and Rebound FX has 77 plant minerals. It has a total of 128 nutrients in it. Wow. So how can you compare an energy drink that has 2 nutrients versus one that has 128?
Right?
It's just impossible.
And Doc, oftentimes when I'm telling athletes that, I'll say, imagine now that you're in the boxing ring. We're going a few years back, and I show them the comparison. I say, you got this 1 minute break between rounds, and you're fighting a young Mike Tyson. Which one do you want? So that brings it home clearly right away. Give me a double dose of the Rebound, they say. So athletes really see the difference, though, the comparison, all the nutrition, the energy, the pickup, the ability to sustain your energy. It's just a no-brainer for anybody, really.
No, Rebound FX has really taken off, Mike, and just because it is a performance drink, it is an energy drink, and it is a nutrient replacement, not only a fluid replacer, but it's also a nutrient replacer, and it's so convenient, you don't even have to pay for a lot of water to be shipped to you. It comes in a concentrate, You can get the samples, a 1 serving sample, or you can get the concentrate that has 32 servings in it. You can make it really concentrated, as 32 half quarts, or as it's designed for 32 quarts. And you're only paying for the shipping of 1 quart of water instead of 32. So we're very excited about the system. It's really been very well received by the professional athletes from all sports. Can you recall any comments that maybe some of these professional athletes have had about Rebound FX?
Oh, I have, Doc. So many athletes have really taken to it, and they've just ordered it in bulk. I mean, we have entire teams that will purchase as much as almost $2,000 worth at one time and say, I want to have this here for the remainder of the year. And I don't want to have to worry about when it's shipments coming in, and they just take it every day. They just will not go on the court without it. It becomes that much more part of you. You feel so much better when you're walking on the floor with that confidence as well as the energy. Your body is just feeling good, and they know they can play at a very high level. So we've had athletes at every level, whether they're in the Pee Wee level, the high school level, the collegiate level, or the professional ranks, and in all sports, whether they've been football, boxing, basketball, baseball, track, you name it. We've had athletes across the board that have just really loved taking Rebound FX.
Well, you're kind of an all-around guy, and one of the many, many reasons we have a deep respect for you and we love you is that.
So everybody my age cries about how much they hurt and how much life sucks now and how aging stinks and how they can't get off the couch now and how they need their copper fit knee bands and knee pads and shit. And like, I'm just laughing at all of you. I literally laugh at everybody I know. Like, I've seen people from my past, and like I literally have to stop myself from busting out laughing in their face because like it's hard to explain what happened to them in such a short time. I'm sorry to say it, but I have a hard time not laughing at people when I see them in public because it's like, how does that happen to you? I saw you not like 8 years ago and you looked normal, and now you look like this. Like, good God, man, what happened? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, all I can really say is I'm the one laughing now. Like, shit. And I'll be laughing for all of foreseeable future. Can't even say that. All right, so, and then eventually I'll also be laughing at the generation below me. Actually, I'm already laughing at the generation below me for the most part.
There's never been more opportunity than there is right now. If you're a fucking savage and you get out there and you grind hard and you want it bad enough, you can run all these guys over, man.
Because they're a bunch of weakling nerds who literally can't do anything because they've never been pushed to do anything in their lives. So, like, it's not quite time yet for me to laugh at them because they all hurt themselves doing stupid shit in the gym out of ego lifting. That's coming soon. But I'm going to be laughing at that generation very shortly because, they're all going to hurt themselves because they don't follow any of this information that I'm sharing here. And they will never follow it because they're actually worse than the people in my generation and above ever were in terms of an ego and a perspective of listening to people. Like, but actually, some of them do have the possibility to compete with me long term. There is some of Gen Z, and probably not Gen Alpha. They're probably fucked. But some of Gen Z is made up of non-weaklings. But they don't stand a chance in hell of competing with me long term unless they follow what Dr. Wallach is teaching here and take it to heart and actually do it with the fullest sincerity of their heart and the fullest remembrance of the core principles of the information that is being gone over here. All right, now, well, that was a little longer than I wanted to make it, but, I mean, getting into the meat here, and basically how this goes is there is literally an endless stream of Olympians and pro athletes and world figures on the political stage and everything you could possibly name. There's endless numbers of doctors, nurses, and all kinds of people of all walks of life that are following this exact information that I am showing you here to better their health. It's just that it's a very small number of us doing this because most people don't listen to anything that they're taught by anybody because of, I couldn't really tell you why that is. I listen to absolutely fucking everything said to me. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm listening to it and I'm checking it out. Most people will just go, "You're a stupid-ass conspiracy theorist, retard fucking dumbass. You think that exercise doesn't cause weight loss? All you gotta do is eat in a caloric deficit and you'll lose the weight." I hear stupid-ass fucking retards like you all day long, every day of my life. Well, you're all fucked. And, well, the funny thing is about this is that this works best for me because I am not of this world. See, most people are greatly, greatly afflicted and affected by the things that are said about them and directed towards them in terms of an energy perspective by the quote-unquote world. Well, see, the world around me is a fucking sick piece of shit society, and I don't know in any way whatsoever how any of you can't see it. Like, I don't know a single respectable person whatsoever. Every person I have ever met in my life is an abject coward who's afraid to try anything new. And because of that, the only people that who have actually done the stuff that I'm talking about here and have actually reversed their sports injuries, like the Olympians and pro athletes that I'm speaking of, who have done this before, like, say, Evander Holyfield, who literally was forced into medical retirement and came back and won the heavyweight championship of the world because of this exact program that I'm following here. Well, see, most of you won't do this because you are completely obsessed with what the world around you believes. You think certifications and certificates from scam organizations like universities are the only qualifying thing in the world that could qualify you to accurately and adequately speak in ways that can help people from a health perspective. Like the fact that you look around and see everybody around you and think and know in your heart that they all have medical insurance, that they're all following the garbage that they're told to do by their doctor, and they're all taking a bunch of medications. Well, at least one out of every two of you is taking a medication prescribed to you by a doctor. Well, the fact that you can look around at all these people and see all of the obesity and still listen to them, it's baffling to me. I can't even begin to possibly understand it. I don't even understand how anybody can look around at this sick society and think, yeah, I'm going to listen to what these people are doing. They clearly got it right. Like, they're obviously doing things correctly. Just keep on eating the poison in moderation. All you got to do is drink that Gatorade and replace those electrolytes, boy. You'll be good to go in no time. See, instead of preventing your ACL from tearing or your shoulder capsule from collapsing on itself or your hamstring from exploding, we'll just fucking pay $100,000 to a doctor to stitch me up and fix it after it explodes on me. Nope. Instead of paying $4 a day to prevent these injuries, we're going to fucking do it the $100,000 way. See, we'll just wait for it to explode, and then we'll fix it with the $100,000 option. We'll not go with the low-cost, low-maintenance, $4 a day and strategic maneuvering around dietary poisons to fix our problems and prevent them from ever occurring in the first place. Nope. That's for fucking conspiracy wackos. That is for goddamn conspiracy whack job nutcase lunatics like Trevor Hamburger. That fucking nut job Trevor Hamburger, he's the fucking biggest nut job I've ever heard in my fucking life. See, me, I'm a stud, and I need the studies. Show me the studies. Give me the studies. See, if it's not in fucking JAMA, I'm not gonna listen to it. I've got to have the studies, pal. You're a conspiracy nut. See, the pharmaceutical companies funding the studies that I want that are inevitably going to show the opposite of what they should show because they are rigged from the jump by the scientists who no longer get funded by the pharmaceutical companies to perform their work as a scientist if they don't show the pharmaceutical companies what they want to show them or what they're paid to show them. Because if they don't show them that, they'll go and get new scientists, and those guys will lose their funding for the rest of their career. So we're going to go with those guys and not that fucking conspiracy wacko nut Trevor Hamburger. Like, who the fuck would listen to that fucking nutcase? Oh, wait, I forgot. That guy's still fucking, he'll fucking destroy you in every fucking sport you possibly ever could name. Like, you put me on the line in football, whether offense or defense, you can't find fucking anybody to guard me anywhere. But nope. We're going to listen to that fat shit physical trainer over there who's fucking fat and got a big roll just like I do. A big spare tire on him just like me. But I'm going to listen to that guy and not that fucking nut job, Trevor Hamburger. Hey, that's what I'd do too. I mean, clearly it's working for you, pal. Only by the grace of God was I ever able to afford never being injured in my youth. Like, by the grace of God, I was never seriously injured. If I had, I'd probably have ended up addicted to oxycodone and Vicodin like all the athletes I grew up around. Like, I could fucking name them all right now. I'm not gonna. I can name them all. All the athletes I grew up around that are accepted and and revered by their peers still, unlike that fucking nut job Trevor Hamburger. Well, that fucking nut job Trevor Hamburger, he's not addicted to oxycodone, Vicodin, and alcohol like all of them are. But hey, you know, well, see, that's by the grace of God. Like, literally the grace of God that I never blew out my knee like everybody else did, or whatever the hell it did that got you into shoulder surgery, or whatever the fuck it was that got you into an experience with oxycodone and Vicodin and all that other garbage, and now you're all a bunch of addicts. See, thank God, I could really only pray and thank God that never happened to me. But part of the reason that never happened to me is because I quit. I told them, fuck you. My fucking feet hurt every time I run. I'm not fucking doing this shit anymore. So that's probably a good deal of the reason I never ended up on that shit. Like, when my feet started hurting, I didn't fucking ask some doctor to give me some fucking way to do it. I just stopped fucking doing what made my feet hurt. And because of that, I never ended up on oxycodone like everybody else. Oh, and also I was abused. So, like, I was like, shit, fuck, I ain't fucking wrestling for you fucking, you asshole. Like, if you if you went through what I went through as a child, and like I was expected to wrestle, I was actually disowned by my family for not wrestling. Like, never saw my uncle again after I saw him for 14 years straight when he thought I was going to be a big bad state champion wrestler guy. Like, my dad was fucking, he was going nuts trying to train me to become a big state champion wrestler guy. I just fucking quit. You know why I quit? Because I couldn't fucking run. Nobody ever fucking said a word except to disown me. They never asked, like, hey, kid, why'd you quit? Nope. Just disowned me. So, like, that's part of the reason I quit. So thank God for being gifted that abuse that led me to quit. Because if I hadn't done that, I'd probably be on oxycodone and Vicodin. Like every other fucking dude that wrestled for the wrestling team that the real wrestlers coached. Like, see, if I'd have done that, I would have been on Vicodin and oxycodone like all them are now. Oh, what do you know? And I'm not now. But I did get disowned by my family for doing it, so whatever. It was worth it. At least I'm not a drug addict now, so what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? All right, so the only reason I never got hurt seriously, well, like I just said, I quit. I just fucking quit. If I didn't quit, I guarantee I would have blew my knee out. It probably would have been my back that got me, because that was what eventually got me the most. And I was having back spasms in high school, like, from nothing. Like, I would just sit on the couch and I'd have a back spasm. Like, these fucking idiots think I'm going to go and wrestle and be a state champ. Like, are you fucking stupid or something? Like, are you fucking stupid? Oh, wait, you fucking are. I forgot. My uncle and dad are two dipshit fucking morons. Think a kid with fucking back spasms in 10th grade is going to go be state champ and then disown him for not going after it. Like, oh, yeah, a couple of fucking brilliant geniuses there. All right, so to this day, I'm unsure how I was never seriously injured. I almost broke my neck playing hockey. I literally, like, I got rammed into the boards, fucking neck first. Like, this exact injury literally ends people's lives with paralysis type of shit. Like, it was the only time I ever got taken out of a hockey game in my life. I literally could have died from that shit. So somehow, by some miracle, I never, ever got hurt once. And quite frankly, I feel like that was the hand of God working on me to ensure that I would never follow down the path that all of my other peers went down from sports injuries. So whatever it was, either way about it, I was meant to be a testament to this information here. No matter what you think, I was entirely directed from a young age to be a testament to this information here. And quite frankly, I feel sorry for anyone at all who thinks that people with degrees in medicine or nutrition from any college on earth is anything whatsoever worth listening to. Unless your doctor is primarily on YouTube and you're doing all the DIY work on your own body by your own self through your own obtaining of knowledge and completely ignoring everything that university-trained medical professionals and nutritionists tell you to do, unless you're ignoring all of that, you are going to end up sick, diseased, and with sports injury if you're one of the people who is still attempting to exercise on a regular basis. So if you listen to anything at all doctors and nutritionists have to say that is connected in any way to any dietary or medical professional association or organization on earth, you will be mistreated and they will cripple you long term. This is simply part of the scam of medical insurance in play. The system can't make money off you unless you are sick and dependent on them in the long term. The entire model of surgery is you'll feel better for a little bit, and then it'll get worse, and you'll need additional surgeries that you'll have to pay the doctors through your fucking scam insurance that's only here to make the doctors rich. Like, that's the only reason medical insurance even exists. It's to make the doctors rich. So when you think about this, I want you to ask yourself one question. Have you ever seen a single person come back to form after using surgical procedures of any kind? The only people who ever come back completely to their athletic self that they were beforehand after undergoing surgery are those who have to completely alter and restructure the way that they play the game. They have to, like for a pitcher, the only way a pitcher is successful after bodily breakdown is by becoming an entirely new pitcher with a new strategy based upon your new and weaker and non-improved body that surgery has brought you. They always lose a step after undergoing surgery. You know a player's career is nearing an end when they start undergoing arthroscopic surgery on a regular basis. If you are undertaking arthroscopic surgery, your career is on its back burners and it will not be lasting long. Everything that arthroscopic surgery cannot do a single thing in the world for you that nutrients like glucosamine sulfate can do for you when combined with minerals like copper, boron, strontium, zinc, magnesium, etc. The amount of money you pay for an arthroscopic surgery could pay for the supplement needs of 3 people for fucking 2 years straight. And it would actually help reverse, like, the amount of money you spend on your surgery. If you actually put that into nutritional products, like, it's sickening to think about how much better off you would be versus going the surgical route. Like, it literally sickens me to my core every time I hear about a person having a surgical procedure of any kind. So I went over this in my other video on exercise already, but the entire premise of strengthening muscle around a joint to prevent injury doesn't work because of the various problems with digestion of food that cause the body to break down. So this comes back to the principle of the absorption of minerals. To repair and regrow all cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and the bone structure of your body, you must have strong enough stomach acid to be able to absorb the nutrients you need to be able to do this repair work. You can't even use the nutrients you intake unless the diet you eat allows you to intake them. So I made the whole first video I did on exercise, part 1, is coming back to this principle that you have to be able to absorb nutrients. You can't do that if you're eating these garbage foods that completely inhibit the ability to absorb nutrients into the bloodstream. So the problem here is that none of you are even taking the nutrients you would need to reverse bodily issues in the first place, let alone doing anything from a dietary standpoint to ensure strong stomach acid and a correct balance of bacteria in the gut. Because nothing in the medical establishment can make money off this truth, so they don't even know any of this, let alone tell you to do it. And even if they did know any of this, which some of them do, they can't make money off of telling you to balance the gut flora in your intestines to ensure that you don't have issues with digestive health problems, which is basically everything. Because if you have if you can't absorb nutrients, you have more than digestive health problems. Digestive health problems are just what causes the rest of it to happen. So most of you don't know this, but literally every biochemical and every single processing of neural information, aka brain activity, is done by nutrients present in the body. The weaker your stomach acid is, the more damaged your gut flora balance will be. And as you go on in life, with this problem, your efficiency of nutrient absorption decreases. Because of this, you get aches and pains as you age. You can prevent this quite easily, and as I said many times already, I am living proof of this. The biggest problem here is gluten, and also heated cooking oils and carbonated drinks. Those three things, if you consume them on a regular basis, will completely destroy your gut microbiome. I'll provide you information to learn about why this is in the comments below. So every soda you drink, every item with wheat or cooking oil in it, brings you closer to the ruin of your health. Low stamina will be the norm for you. Brain fog will be the norm for you. And way more. All forms of lack of mental focus like ADHD, depression, anxiety, and more starts with fixing this issue here. So if you're not focused on not eating the foods that cause the body to not be able to absorb nutrients any longer, well, you're going to have mental issues and mental focus problems, which you know as ADHD, depression, and anxiety. All of this starts and ends with having strong stomach acid. All right, so all these products that he's talking about in this video, like, not only do I take them every single day, I give them to my dog. She's 15 years old. She's never had any health problems at all. She's never been sick, essentially. And she's 15 years old. Like, that's how seriously I take this. I give these to my dogs. Like this right here, if you give this to your dog, this one and this one right here, if you give them just a teaspoon of each of these a day, 2 of these bottles would last your dog 3 months, and your dog would never have a bone problem again for the rest of your life. You also have to give them this one right here. These 3 combine to literally regrow the entirety of your bone matrix structures. So if you look at the label here, probably can't see it that well, but I'm going to read it for you. So this is the calcium product. This is the base calcium product. To obtain literally any non-arthritic status in life, you have to take all of these daily, or you will have arthritis for the entirety of your life. If you have any bodily pain whatsoever, that is arthritis. If you have hurt elbows, hurt knees, hurt hips, a hurt back, if your back ever hurts, it's because you already have arthritis. I already had arthritis. So to ward off arthritis, at the bare minimum, you need this right here. So, and this is the maintenance product. So after you fix yourself by using these in addition to this, you only take this. You don't really need this for the rest of your life. You need this to fix yourself, though. That's why I took it. So I take these things just to fix myself. I just do it just because there's no reason not to. Like, if you really need, like, to fix, like, if you really, really, truly are in pain, like, you're taking the same exact products that I am to prevent that pain from happening in the first place. So in this product right here, you need vitamin D3, calcium, 1,200 milligrams, and it's got to be the right forms of these things as well. Like magnesium has to come in a certain form. It can't be from an elemental source of magnesium. It has to be a chelated source of magnesium. Same for all of these. They have to be from chelated sources, not from elemental sources. Colloidal sources are optimal, but you can't get huge amounts from colloidal sources. Okay, so vitamin D3, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, copper, boron, MSM, aka methyl sulfanomethyl. I can't even say it. Glucosamine HCl, strontium. So in order to make calcium work, you have to have MSM and glucosamine HCl to make it work. Same thing with strontium. To make calcium work, you have to have strontium. That's why this is formulated the specific way it is. Okay, so these two here are glucogel. Basically what glucogel does is it's like the glue between the joints in your body. It literally regrows the glue that holds your body together. When you look into what cartilage is, it's basically a form of glue. So this right here, these two rebuild, repair, and maintain bone, joint, ligaments, and tendons. You can't have healthy bones, joints, ligaments, and tendons, and you will be prone to tearing them if you do not take in these products. And if you need to repair yours, these are the absolute essentials to doing this. Okay, so this is Glucogel. Glucogel has glucosamine HCl, MSM, chondroitin sulfate, CMO, and collagen hydrolysate. So, like, long story short, all of these things rebuild, regrow, and repair your bone and joint matrix. Like, it's literally, you drink an ounce of this a day, and your body gets better as long as you're not eating a diet that inhibits the absorption of these things. But at the same time, this extra stuff that your body needs to rebuild the bone matrix, this helps it work better. It can't grow without the original 8 major minerals that you need from the OsteoFX. So, like, this stuff is a full system. Nutrients work in conjunction with one another. I don't know what more to tell you other than this stuff is like the meaning of my whole life. Like, I would probably be dead and on drugs without this shit here. Like, and I'm greatly enjoying life as it is, despite what a lot of people will say about me. So, like, this stuff means the fucking world to me. Your lungs only breathe because of the manganese in your body. Like, every breath I take, every one of those is driven by the manganese in my body. Okay, also, the lungs of your body only have the right mixture of oxygen and CO2 because of your body's use of essential fatty acids to regulate this. Your literal thinking process itself is driven hugely by vitamin B12. You literally can't have a working brain without huge amounts of vitamin B12. Well, guess what? Vitamin B12 doesn't work without adequate amounts of zinc alongside it. And zinc doesn't work without adequate amounts of magnesium alongside it. Magnesium doesn't work without strontium and boron. Vitamin B12 connects to all 4. You need all of this stuff together. And nothing in your body works without any of this being present. Now, luckily, you're always going to get small amounts of these nutrients in your life, and that's going to keep you alive relatively for the most part. But you're not going, as you go on aging every single day of your life, and you're not getting adequate amounts of these minerals, your brain's going to start not working. Your brain's going to be prone to having things like Alzheimer's happen to it because vitamin B12 is responsible for every neural network in your brain working properly. So if you're not obtaining vitamin B12 every day of your life to make sure the neural processing of your brain can function correctly, well, you're going to end up with fucking Alzheimer's and dementia or ALS or, worst of all, probably Parkinson's. I don't know which could be the worst of any of those 4, but you're going to get one of them. So, like, that, you can apply that same exact thinking to 86 other nutritional cofactors. There's literally 86 other nutritional cofactors other than the 5 I just named that are absolutely essential to every biochemical process that takes place in your body. And this, quite frankly, coming back into why this is called Dead Athletes Don't Lie. Well, this is called Dead Athletes Don't Lie because this goes quadruple for athletes because they're literally punishing their body on a day-to-day basis. We don't really need much more than a common sense explanation to explain why an athlete who exerts great force out of their body to perform their athletic maneuvers needs almost quadruple of what somebody who isn't an athlete would need. So that's coming back to why this is called Dead Athletes, because athletes are sweating out. They're dead athletes don't lie because athletes are sweating out all the nutrition they need to not fucking die. If you're not sweating every day like an athlete is, you're not going to die as fast as an athlete dies from sweating out all the nutrition you need to literally not die. And also the stresses on the body, well, the more you stress the body, the more nutrition it needs. So like the more you stress the brain, the more vitamin B12 it needs. Same thing goes with manganese for breathing. The more you're breathing and having heavy periods of breathing from your athletic performance, well, the more manganese you're going to need because you're breathing more often, more forcefully, et cetera, et cetera. It's literally a common sense thing. See, the problem that everybody runs into and that they don't understand any of this is that nobody ever told you that every breath you take in the world is dependent on manganese and essential fatty acids, aka omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, coming in the right amounts, in the right formula. See, a lot of the reason that a lot of you have health problems is because you're constantly consuming omega-6 rich and omega-9 rich cooking oils from all the fried foods that you eat at fast food restaurants. These are completely throwing off the balance of omega-6, omega-3, and omega-9. And because of this, you're having health problems. And this applies more so to athletes because, again, they're having more demand for these nutrients. So if they have more demand for them and they're not getting them, every day that they go about not getting them is bringing them closer and closer to death. This is why they die young and get hurt at a young age from playing sports and never come back from it. Well, I just fucking spilled my drink on the ground. The exact supplements I'm talking about here, I dropped my water bottle, fucking broke it. So I'm real happy about that. Okay, so this is where most of you run into issues here. You hear calcium deficiency and you think, oh, I'll just get my calcium up. Nope. It's not how this works. If you have a calcium deficiency caused health issue, calcium itself has 8 direct cofactors necessary for the utilization of calcium, plus another 20 plus very important less direct cofactors. So there's like 36 different minerals that you need just to use calcium correctly, and none of you are getting any of these minerals on a daily basis from anything you eat, except for maybe a couple of them in small amounts. Like, some of you are actually getting somewhat decent amounts of calcium through diet on a daily basis. Problem with this is you can't use calcium if you don't have things like strontium alongside them, and none of your food has strontium in it. Because farmers are not paid to put strontium into the soil your food is grown from. And hell, a lot of you aren't even eating food grown from soil in the first place. So at this point, processed food is the vast majority of most people's food. Another thing here is that your diet must be one where elimination of all processed food must be done, or you can't use them anyways. So again, beating a dead horse here. You can't use calcium if you're still eating a crappy diet that's inhibiting the absorption of calcium. So when he's saying calcium deficiency, you got to think of a lot of different things. Never think that calcium deficiency just means calcium deficiency. And that's why these supplements that we're going over here are worth their weight in gold. He has the educational background to know all of the nutritional pathways in the body that calcium is needed to be used properly. So when somebody who has that knowledge is putting together the calcium product that you're using, well, it's going to work because he knows everything about how calcium works in the body, and he formulated the supplement to work like that. Like, the same supplements that I'm buying, you could spend the same amount of money paying for all kinds of other crappy supplements, and they won't do a damn thing in the world for you because they don't have all of the bases covered. Like, the supplement that I'm using has all of the bases covered, and it comes in at a cheaper price than all of the crap you would buy that doesn't do anything for you because it doesn't have the full range of mineral cofactors you need to actually make use of them. Like, most people will just take plainly chondroitin sulfate by itself and think that that's going to do something for them. It never will, and it never can. So that's why these supplements that I'm using specifically are golden. Most people aren't in this business to actually help people. They're in it to make the maximum profit they can make. We're here to give you a viable product that can still provide a business to make money on, but also at the same time will actually leave the customer feeling satisfied and not ripped off like the vast majority of the supplement market will do. So how this works in the end is because of this, the supplements that I use are giving me such huge amounts of nutrition that I'm actually getting more nutrition than I need but it will cost me far less for getting more nutrition than I actually need than it will for you to not get the nutrition you need. One single doctor bill for most people will cost more than the entire lifetime supplement bill that I pay. So like I mentioned earlier that I don't have health insurance, well, that's because these supplements that I pay for now prevent me from needing health insurance. Because of that, see, my health insurance is paid in the form of buying these supplements. And because of this, my body is literally bulletproof because I cover over 100% of the nutritional needs that I have. And one of the main criticisms of supplements from doctors is you have expensive urine because what you don't use, what your body doesn't actually use, you literally do pee it out and you don't use it. So you are absolutely in some ways wasting some of your money when you're using the nutritional protocol method of warding off disease versus wasting all of your money when you're using the health insurance protocol to not even fix your health. So like I'm wasting some of my money and I'm getting bulletproof health from it, and you're wasting all of your money, and the only thing you get from it is when you end up in a hospital bed, it doesn't cost you $100,000. See, I'm never going to end up in a hospital bed because I prevent everything that could possibly lead to me ending up in a hospital bed in the first place. So that's pretty much how this goes. You either spend your money on supplements now and spend a low amount of money and never have health problems and follow the diet you're supposed to follow, or you pay for health insurance, you end up in a hospital bed crippled, and you probably still can't even pay for what they want to do to you because your insurance isn't adequate enough to cover it. So thankfully for me, I figured this out at age 23. Thank you, God. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, God. I can't even begin to thank God enough for showing me this and allowing me to walk a path to find this out, and also having the level head and open-minded thinking ability to see it for what it was worth and use it for what it was worth. But see, part of the reason for that is because I found out who Bill Cooper was. Bill Cooper did all the work for me, vetted this guy for me. All I had to do was try this stuff. So I didn't have to actually go through the process of vetting this dude and finding out he's telling me the truth. I had that done for me. And I just did what I was told to do, and I got the same results that the person who told me to do got from it. All right, so because of my early injuries in life, I was much like Dr. Wallach, where I was experiencing this stuff at a young age that almost nobody around me was experiencing. So I was lucky that I had this happen to me, where I was severely impacted by sports injuries as early as age 14. Well, actually before 14, I was experiencing growing pains and other calcium deficiency related disease issues as young as 10. That was probably when it first started for me. Okay, so and then later on, eventually I reignited all of my bodily problems as I tried to become an athlete after high school ended. So like I started getting super back into athletics after high school ended. So like age 18, everybody around me is getting drunk in college, just getting wasted all the time, drinking soda down with vodka and having stupid arguments about what candy they like. Well, see, I was eating like a traditional Asian, and I was eating pork and sweet potatoes galore, and I was working on trying to fix my body because I had already broken down. So while Dr. Wallach is giving you this exact same story, that pretty much what I went through when I was a kid, that he also went through, I had a fairly similar experience to this. And because of this, I am much like Dr. Wallach, that I took to this information at a very young age. Now, luckily for me, I didn't have to go about this by eating fucking calf pellets like Dr. Wallach ate. Like, if you've ever seen calf pellets or smelled calf pellets, you would not want to eat them. I'll tell you that right now. But the funny thing about this is that this product right here, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, one of the ones responsible for fixing my body, well, this is calf pellets in the human form. Like, this is the human version of eating calf pellets. if you take the lid off and smell it, this one's empty now, but if you take the lid off and smell it, you can smell that hint of calf pellets. I never figured this out until someone pointed it out to me who had an agriculture background that also uses this product. Well, he pointed it out to me that it smells like calf pellets, and it actually does. So these calf pellets Dr. Wallach's talking about, well, that's that Beyond Tangy Tangerine there. So luckily for me, I didn't have to eat real live calf pellets to fix my health issues. See, all I did was drink the tasty peach-flavored, smoothie-flavored Beyond Tangy Tangerine to fix my health issues. At least one of the things, anyways. Okay, so, like, every person I ever gave my calf pellets to, like, I've let people taste Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I very rarely hang out with people, but every person I've let taste them in my life has become instantly addicted to them, and they essentially have no idea why. I did, but, they didn't realize that they were begging me to have another sip of my juice because their body so badly needed the minerals and vitamins and everything that's in it that they so badly need to be in better health and not feel crappy all the time. Like, so they were begging me for more of it, and that's happened every time. Okay, so like, another thing here is I was basically just like the wrestlers he speaks of here. The day of the 8th grade wrestling tournament, I literally had to cut weight in a trash bag. Like, okay, so I had to cut weight for like 2 hours before the 8th grade wrestling tournament, fucking running around in a trash bag. And because of that, I felt horrific the rest of the day. I literally that was one of the sickest times I've ever been in my life, is the day I had to get the weight off and get down to 80 pounds to wrestle in the 8th grade city championship. So anyways, I went out and wrestled the rest of the day and felt absolutely like shit the whole fucking day. I won the city championship, finished my career 20-0, undefeated, 2-time city champ, undefeated record. So despite feeling like shit, I still won the city championship. So anybody that goes back to my 8th grade wrestling championship, I was sick as a fucking dog that day. Like, I won that thing sick as a dog. Okay, so what I learned from this is that I probably should have fucking died from all the crap that I did with zero nutrition, like so many athletes die at a young age. Honestly, the amount of crap that I went through, and part of the reason for this is that I sweat more than most people sweat. So the fact that I sweat more is the reason that I had this happen to me at a young age. So like, you take the fact that I was, I had such a crappy diet, like horrible diet as a child. And I really honestly don't even know how I haven't died how I didn't die before I turned 18 from exercise, or at least 22, because I was still pounding away and I didn't find any of this out until about 23. So 23 was when I found this out and fixed this out. How I didn't die from age 1 to 22 from sweating all my mineral stores out, well, I don't know. It's just a miracle from God is all I can tell you, because a lot of people have suffered this fate, and I was a prime candidate for this. Literally, like anybody who can go back to high school and tell you, like, I'm the dude you don't want to guard in basketball because I'm going to sweat all over your ass. Like, it's not as true as it used to be anymore. Like, I still sweat a good deal, but like the way I used to sweat, I was the dude you would never want to guard. So like, that's part of the reason I was a prime candidate for potentially dying from exercise, which most people don't even know you can do. And that's literally also the reason why my sports injuries happened to me at a young age. I sweat more than everybody around me. I was a sweaty 11-year-old. Like, I was 11 years old and I was sweaty. So because of that, I got sports injuries at a young age. And I was able to find this information out because, luckily for me, I got hurt at such a young age. I was forced into finding a solution. And, well, honestly, I wouldn't have found a solution. I would have never found the solution, except for, like I mentioned before, Bill Cooper told me about this information, and it saved my life. Without Bill Cooper, probably wouldn't be here right now, because I wouldn't have believed any of this without Bill Cooper. Like, I would have been just like all you guys, fucking didn't believe a word of this, and I'd probably be dead right now because of that. So that wraps up Dead Athletes Don't Lie. Remember, kids, dead athletes do not lie. When you see all these athletes dropping dead at young ages, well, remember why.
Doing good, Doc. I'm really glad to be here. I'm feeling good. I've already had my rebound drink today, so I'm fired up.
Ready to go another game.
Ready to go another game. Let's play two, as Ernie Banks used to say in the sports world.
Well, one of the things that's really been fascinating over the years is to watch athletes, professional athletes, and you'd like to think that fitness is the answer to health and longevity, and yet the top athletes have a struggle. They break down, they get tendon problems, cartilage problems, ligament problems, they get bone problems, muscle problems, and you'd think if fitness was the answer to solving health problems and living a long time, the professional athletes would have a very high percentage of them living to be 100. And with the exception, I know this is a fact, Mike, with the exception of two black gentlemen from the old Negro baseball leagues, there's never been a professional athlete ever lived to be 100.
You're right. One of those Ted double-duty Ratcliffe, who was a catcher and a pitcher in the Negro Leagues, died at 101, I believe it was. But you're absolutely right. Other than him, nobody.
Yeah, nobody. And there's a universal reason for this, of course, and regardless of the sport you play in, whether it's basketball or football or hockey or soccer or boxing, whether it's skating or any other sport, whether it's amateur or professional, they all universally sweat.
Yes.
And when you're sweating, Mike, you know you're not just sweating out water, you're sweating out a suit that contains all the known essential nutrients. And if you're just drinking water, if you're just drinking soft drinks, if you're just drinking one of those energy drinks that has one or two nutrients, and we'll talk about them by the brand name in a few minutes, you're going to be sadly disappointed. You may get a little energy, but over the long haul, you're going to break down, and the odds are you're not going to make it to 100. And so what's your take on this? What have you seen over the years in professional basketball?
Doc, not only statistically doing research, but in my own personal life. I just turned 50 this past year, and 7 guys that I played with in college have passed on, all of them from health-related occurrences, nothing accidental. So I see in my own life the deaths, and so many of my former teammates in the NBA and college, they've had 2 hip replacements, knee replacements, they can hardly walk, they are really struggling. So I've seen it firsthand that a lot of the athletes, of course, we read about the super athletes like Kirby Puckett that recently passed, and the ultimate basketball hero of all, Wilt Chamberlain, a guy who averaged over 48 minutes a game for an entire season, averaged 50 points a game. He was just superhuman for a season, and we see Wilt pass at 63, and other heroes of sports like, of course, Walter Payton, one of the greatest, if not 45, maybe the greatest football player that ever lived, and even somebody like Wilma Rudolph, whose records are still right up there at the top. And it was years and years ago, 1960, since she won those 3 gold medals, but she was a tremendous athlete. 54, a natural athlete, had no type of enhancements whatsoever. And when we see great athletes like that, and even in our own communities, younger athletes than that dying, we know that there's something wrong, that the people that think if I'm just exercising, then I should live long, that the message should clearly be there for them. There are other things than exercising and being a great athlete as far as longevity and health is concerned.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Commissioner. Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
And, you look at somebody like Reggie Lewis, died at 28, cardiomyopathy heart attack actually, he had 1 heart attack during a playoff game with the Charlotte Hornets.
Right.
And then some weeks later, he died of a second heart attack, selenium deficiency. And then more recently, there was a young lady, 19 years old, Rolanda Pierce. She's a freshman at Florida State University, 6'5". She was going to be the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. She was going to be it. She dies of a ruptured aneurysm at age 19, something that Turkey wouldn't die from, because we eliminated ruptured aneurysms in Turkey in 1947. We learned that there was a simple little copper deficiency, and just by taking copper, you can prevent that. So I know the story, but why don't you share the story of one of our favorite modern athletes, Theo Ratliff?
Sure. I, of course, am very knowledgeable of all the great nutritional products that I take and how they work. And as a broadcaster for the Atlanta Hawks, I was talking to one of the Hawks players, not Theo Ratliff, and I was speaking kind of quietly. This gentleman had several challenges, and I was talking to him a little bit about nutrition, and Theo overheard me. Theo said, "Mike, can I get with you? I want to talk to you about those nutritional things." And I met with Phil Oliver, a guy who had introduced me to the products, and I said, "Phil, we need to go out to dinner with Theo Ratliff." So we went out with Theo. Theo was a young, tremendous athlete. He had made the All-Star team. Philadelphia 76ers had traded him to the Atlanta Hawks, which is a red flag right away. Why would you trade a young 6'10" shot blocker who's a tremendous person, follows all the trainer's instructions, all the coach's instructions, he's a family man, he's doing everything right? Why would you trade a guy like that?
He was not a druggy felon.
Exactly. Exactly right. This is the kind of guy you want. You try to get on your team, not trade him away. So we met with Theo, Doc, and we went over all the nutritional things that he needed, and we pointed out that he was very deficient of his nutrition that he needs daily, essential nutrition. And we told him the things that he needed. We told him he needed essential fatty acids. We told him he needed calcium. He needed plant-derived minerals. He needed a combination of plants, minerals, and amino acids. And he needed glucogel to really repair and rebuild himself. Theo listened, and he followed our instructions. He took all of this nutrition morning and night. And he did that, and he really recreated himself. Theo had been a guy, Doc, that when he got to the Atlanta Hawks, his knees would swell, his ankles were arthritic, he had a detached bone in his hip, and Theo was like 26 years old. I mean,
old man's disease. He's 26 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like we were speaking of earlier. Here he's sweating out all these nutrients.
Yes.
And he's not taking them back in to maintain and repair his body.
Yes.
He was not supporting that maintenance system. He was depending on aerobics and fitness and muscle training and strength training.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, because the trainers were telling him that, Doc. They were saying, well, maybe if you stretch a little bit more. So they had him on icing and stretching and lifting weights to strengthen those muscles in the areas of the injury, and none of it. He was continuously falling apart. So we said, Theo, if you'll take these things and if you'll take them every day, we can repair and rebuild you. And Theo did. He took them religiously. One of the few athletes that we've introduced this to that have recognized you can't just take it one time and say, oh, I didn't feel anything, so I just stopped taking it because they've been taking inferior products. So Theo took all of the nutrition. He went from a guy that missed 79 out of 82 games the previous year. He only played in 3 games, Doc, and I was right there in the locker room after each one of those 3. He was hurting. He was, oh, my hip is hurting. I don't know if I can play anymore. And coaches, can you just play a few minutes tomorrow night? You know?
He's 26 years old.
Exactly. Like, and then, you know, the owners are thinking, we're paying you a lot of money for these little few minutes. All those dynamics enter into professional sports. But he could not play anymore. Theo was just in pain, and he was only hurting himself further. So he went from there to taking all the nutrition to rebuilding himself. Theo got to the point where he was playing 82 games, pain-free. He wasn't even icing his knees. Now, I played 10 years in the NBA. All centers ice their knees. That's standard equipment. You put your shoes on, you ice your knees after the game. Those go together. So Theo was so healthy. He had no pain in his knees, no pain in his hip. He was pain-free. He was just jumping out of the gym, just blocking shots, led the NBA in shots blocked, and was one of the top vote getters for Defensive Player of the Year. Theo was recreated. He was healthier than he had ever been before.
Well, and then I know something really, really good happened to him after those 2 great seasons with the Hawks. What happened then?
Well, we were talking, Phil Oliver and I were talking about how he had really come around and been created. And Phil came up with the idea. He said, we need to really have a sports drink built around Theo so that when Theo is out there, he can take all these nutritional drinks and supplements while he's playing. And that's when we came to you, Doc, and we said, can we devise an energy drink that's full of this nutrition so that while Theo is playing, and other athletes and other everyday people, while they're living their everyday lives, they can take this energy drink and feel an immediate sustainable energy boost that will take them throughout the game, and they'll even feel better the next day. So it sounded like a tall order, but we knew that it could be filled, and that's exactly what happened. Rebound FX was created. We tossed around what would be a good name, and we thought that Theo had rebounded his career, and rebound such a part of basketball, rebounding, you can't win without rebounding. So all of that made a lot of sense, and we came up with the name Rebound FX, and Theo has taken it. Theo has introduced it to a lot of other professional athletes, as we have as well, and it has just developed and earned the reputation of being the best sports drink in the world. And coming from a sports background, my nickname is the Stinger, and all people know you have to earn your nickname. So if your name is Rebound FX, you have to earn. Then Rebound has certainly earned that name, Rebound FX.
Yeah, I can remember there's one professional basketball player, I can't mention his name, but I remember one guy, one of the top NBA players, he wasn't going to play on a Sunday, and we were at one of those basketball clinics on Saturday, and they actually had to have one of the kids who was there, who was going back to Miami, hand carry a case of Rebound FX to this basketball player because he wasn't going to play without it.
That's right. What a great story, Doc. You're right. You're trying out for the WBA. You mentioned I'm the commissioner of the World Basketball Association. It's a young league. We work with young guys and try to give them opportunities, exposure, and development. This young kid had come up to Atlanta to try out, come from Miami to try out. And one of our professional athletes that is taking Rebound had a game that Sunday. And as you know, FedEx and UPS and a lot of the services that deliver don't really do it very often on the weekend. So we were having a real difficult time because he had to have it. He knows the benefits of it. We show the comparison of Rebound to athletes, and they know how significant it is to get any little edge, because the difference in winning and losing in superstar and a regular player in making the NBA not is sometimes fractions of a second. So any edge that they can get, athletes know they want it. So this kid was going back to Miami, and we had the idea. We met with the kid and said, look, we've got an athlete that needs this rebound desperately. Can you, on your trip back, take a cab, as soon as you get to the Miami airport, take a cab, go directly to the arena, meet the security guard in the back door, and give this Rebound FX to this athlete, and he will give you 2 courtside seats for it.
Wow.
The kid was so elated and so happy. He said, will I? I'll be glad to. So the kid was, we didn't have to tell him about the benefits of Rebound. It was obvious if this professional athlete, superstar athlete, wanted it this much, it had to be very good. And he got a chance to sit on the floor right near the player's bench and see the game as he'd never seen it before, and see Rebound at work. The athlete got his energy drink, and he drank it throughout the game, and the benefits. It was just a win-win and a beautiful story for everyone.
Yeah, that's I love that story. Mike, thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
And of course, you don't have to be a basketball star, a football star, a boxing star, a baseball star to take Rebound FX. If you're the sort of person who needs to pick me up with a cup of coffee or a soft drink at 10 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and 8 o'clock at night, you want to try Rebound FX. It does not have carbonation. It doesn't have sugar. It doesn't have phosphates in it. It doesn't have the things that are negatives from the standpoint of nutrition. And as a result, we find that the people who are using Rebound FX are people in addition to the athletes. Of course, it was originally designed for athletes. This is like gasoline for a high-performance race car, And you're not often going to get to use that in streetcars, on the street, because it's just such a high-performance fuel.
Right.
Well, here's a high-performance fuel for professional athletes that's accessible and usable by the average person on the street, whether you're kind of a weekend warrior and you're playing the company softball league,
right.
or you like to go bowling on a Friday night, or you just like to play tennis or pick up basketball. There's so many people who break down, regardless of their age, whether they're in their teens, they're young adults in their 20s or 30s, yet middle-aged people, and they break down. They say to me, Doc, I don't know why I'm breaking down like this. I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all my...
I just really love taking Rebound FX.
Well, you're a kind of an all-around guy, and one of the many, many reasons we have a deep respect for you and we love you is that you've developed this league for deaf basketball players.
Yes.
And we really, really appreciate that. And are these kids using the Rebound FX?
Yes, Doc, I'm glad you asked about that. This is, of course, my dad coached at Georgia School for the Deaf, so I grew up around deaf kids. He coached basketball, track, and softball there in the late 50s and early 60s. So I grew up around deaf kids, and I developed the nation's first basketball camp for deaf kids. So we get high school-age boys and girls, basically from all across the country, to come to my camp. We have a week-long of regular basketball camp, 3 times a day, and on the last night of the camp, we play an all-star game where my best deaf kids play against local all-stars from the community. So they're kind of tired. It's been a long week, but they're very excited about representing the Mike Glenn Camp for the Hearing Impaired and about deaf people showing that they can play basketball as well as anybody else. And so we played, and I remember the first time I introduced Rebound FX to them, I just told them very briefly, this is a good drink, it has some nutrition, it'll help your energy, so we're going to have it available for the game. So they said okay, and you know how high school kids are, they wonder how it tastes and what is it, and they have been so accustomed to other sports drinks. And so I just put it out, and they were coming from it. I told them, drink some of this. I had someone to give it to them, and I saw their reactions when they go back on the court. They had the energy, they came back, and I said, which one? I want some more of that one. They were signed, and they wanted the one with the rebound in it, and they didn't even know of all the nutritional things, but all the whole teams, the girls and the boys were taking it, and after the game, they were saying, how can I get some more of that? So without hearing the whole story and knowing what it was going to do for them, that's like just a blind test. It was for a deaf test in this case, but these kids just tried it, felt it, they knew it worked, and they wanted it. So, and we've had Rebound available for them throughout the week now for the last couple of years, but it is just a part of the deaf community, the deaf sports scene, and still growing in every avenue you can imagine.
Well, thank you for that feedback, Mike. And since you brought up the test word,
yes.
The thing that we're really proud of with Rebound FX and many other of our products is the fact that in New Zealand, which is probably the toughest country in the world when it comes to testing urine and testing sweat of players, to make sure that they're not taking anything that gives them an advantage, something that's been banned, has been approved by the agencies in New Zealand that test for these things, and therefore it's also approved, because they're the toughest in the world, it's also been approved by the IOC.
Wow. The
International Olympic Committee. And what does that do? I mean, I know that amateur and professional athletes got to be worried they're going to take something new. Is it going to affect their ability to play? Are they going to get banned from playing if they take something with some weird herb in it, or something that shows up in their urine, their sweat, or their blood? How important is that to a player?
That is, Doc, because there's so much emphasis on it now in the media. All the emphasis on steroids or different drugs that athletes that have died, famous athletes, and often they try to infer that it was because of something that they were taking, or rather than something that they're not taking.
There was a baseball player who died of something, and they attributed it to the ephedra that he had taken. And then, boy, Congress got in it, and they banned ephedra. And then an attorney went back and sued the government and the FDA to get ephedra back on the market. But it has to be like a very, very tiny dose. You have to take a whole bottle, get the same dose as you used to be able to get.
Okay, right. And I think that, Doc, has scared a few people, like, is ephedra in? so they have this undue alarm. So to know that it has been stringently tested, that these are beneficial nutrients, and that's what we really stress to people, that this is nutrition. This is not some drug or chemicals that you're putting in your body. This is the safest and the best thing, because they are plant-derived minerals, have been pre-digested by plants. And so we explain that to them, because there is this concern that if it's anything new that they've not heard of, that maybe it's one of those banned substances that will either make them illegal to play or will hurt them in the long run. But once we tell them these factors, they take it with confidence, and they know they feel it and like it, and then they pretty much go on from there.
Yeah, this is a Rebound and several other products from our wonderful collection of products has been approved by at least 1 and maybe 2 agencies in New Zealand. And again, it's the toughest one in the world. And so the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, just as long as New Zealand says it's okay, they don't even look at it sideways. And so this has really opened up the whole amateur athletic league, whether it's junior high, high school, university, Olympics. And we're so very proud of that, because we don't want these young kids who work so hard. They learn the sport, the actual technology of the sport, they learn the system of the sports, and they get fit, and then they start breaking down. And it's always the top ones.
Yes.
always tough.
It is, Doc, and I think the top ones work harder. You know, people in sports recognize that. Sometimes people outside of sports think they're just naturally gifted, which they are gifted, or that they're just naturally blessed and it comes easily to them. But from my experience as a professional player, from interviewing, writing books about them, and seeing how they work, the guys that are stars are usually the hardest working guys on your team, which means naturally they sweat the most, they lose their minerals the most, and we found these adverse health effects on the best players because they sweat the most. I mean, they put more energy, more emotion, more time. They're into the playoffs. In the NBA, if your team does not make the playoffs, your season is over by the middle of April. But if you're going to the championship game every year, then you're going on toward the end of June. So you have much more intense games and practices, and you add that year to year to year. Those superstars that are going those extra miles, they're going to be the one most adversely affected.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information, and I know that people are going to want to hear this material that's going to be so vital to their long-term health and also their day-to-day health on the short term, because nobody wants to be walking around on crutches. Nobody wants to be sitting in the chair when you want to be out playing.
That's the truth, Doc. And you make me think of something else very quickly, though. My wife, who is she likes to walk and exercise, try to stay firm and slim. Around this area, Doc, in the Atlanta area, you have a lot of people that like walking up Stone Mountain and walking around the mountain. So you have a lot of people that are just doing those kind of exercise daily. And I know Phil's wife likes to do these kind of things as well. And they both are taking this Rebound FX every day. They're taking it to walk the mountain for their exercise. All their friends are taking it. So even if you're not, as we've mentioned, a professional athlete and you're competing at that level, if you're just an everyday person that wants a little extra energy and nutrition, it works very effectively. It tastes great, and it gives them that little extra energy, and they'll do an extra mile or two when they're taking that Rebound, and they find out that they'll lose weight quicker and feel better after they finish walking.
Okay, I'm going to end this, Mike, with rebound. That's our drink.
I like that. Yes, indeed. Let's be back in the sports world.
Okay, Theo, you hear Mike, Lynn, and both Mike and Dr. Wallach talking about, Rebound and how we came about with Rebound and basically how our relationship, yourself and myself and Mike. But I want you to kind of tell your story and just kind of emphasize why were you such a different athlete in receiving this versus your colleagues, and what has it meant to you?
Well, Phil, it's been tremendous to me as far as helping rebuild my career and further me along and giving me the ability to extend my career. It's been well documented of the different type of injuries that I've had throughout my career. And it always got to a point where I couldn't figure out what was going on with my body. And I overheard Mike Glenn speaking to one of my teammates when I was with the Atlanta Hawks back in about 2002, talking about minerals and calcium and mineral deficiency. And so when I heard him, I said, yo, Mike, come over here and speak to me about that a little bit. And he graciously, as he is a man, just came over and gave me some knowledge about what it was he was speaking of, and it was profound in what he was speaking about, because I had never had it put to me in that manner as far as athletes becoming mineral and calcium deficient, throughout their sweating out all their minerals during play, and also with the amount of energy and stuff that we exert during play, becoming deficient in those areas. So he told me about the great products at Longevity, and I was able to get on the products diligently, and rebuild, the cartilage from my hip injury, from my knee injury, and just all the different things that I have going on at the time. I was in a situation where I had the hip injury where I couldn't figure out what was going on and why these things was just happening to me, because I always try to keep myself in a superb physical health and always ready to get out there and play ball. But, I was getting these minor injuries, knick-knack injuries and stuff that was just stopping me from continuing to be the player that I was. Like I said, with the minerals, that all changed. Once I got on the minerals and got to doing the Pig Pack Plus and taking the calcium and being diligent on it and taking it, as it was food, every single day, twice a day, I was able to rebuild my body and to be able to extend my my playing career.
Well, Theo, they had a rap on you that you were the kind of guy that got a lot of injuries. So why don't you just try to tell me, when did your injury start, and at what point did you realize that there was something else that you needed to do?
Well, I was diagnosed even when I first came into the league. They said I had a degenerative bone problem.
How old were you then?
That was when I just had come out of college. I wasn't any more than 22 years old at the time. So I had back issues. So as they looked at the MRI, I had to take MRI and a whole bunch of exams in order for teams to even take me. I had to take all these things to try to make sure that, everything would stay intact. And they gave me, only 5 or 6 years in the league tops was where I would be at my, at my peak position, and everything would be downhill from there, because they saw the degenerative changes that early in my career. Lo and behold, I was able to extend, my career as far as being able to play and be, I was in a position where I was in the playoffs as an all-star in 2001, right before I received my hip injury, right before I received my wrist injury, where I just went up for a block shot, just normally coming down, trying to catch myself, fracturing my wrist. having to have surgery, and then traded to the Hawks. And then my wrist healed. And during that same summer, right before the season started, I ended up tearing cartilage. I didn't know what it was. I just went up for the ball, jumped for a ball, a routine thing that I do, 1,000 times a game, and ended up tearing cartilage in my hip. Nobody knew what the diagnosis was. I had to go see all these specialists and different things that were, and finally figure out what was going on. So I had to have a surgery for that. And in my trying to recovery from that surgery, I just wasn't getting back to being able to play the game. And it had gotten to a point where I had set out all year, tried to come back a couple of times, and it just wouldn't happen for me. So I had, lost faith in, what was going on as far as with trying to heal, and was real discouraged with what the doctors and stuff were saying. And, I thought I was pretty much done with it because I wouldn't be able to be the same player that I was before I had the hip injury. But with that said, I had a great guy, Phil Oliver, to school me on exactly what I needed to do as far as taking the minerals and the calcium, along with Mike Glenn, and just got over my problem by being diligent on taking the product.
And so from that, we produce Rebound.
Yes.
So how is Rebound, now that we have this Rebound FX, how has it benefited you and even some of your colleagues?
Well, after being such a diligent student of the minerals and the calcium and constantly rebuilding my body, we kind of jointly, me, Phil, Mike, kind of jointly came up with the idea of having an energy drink to help sustain me throughout the game. When everybody else was going down in the fourth quarter, my energy was still elevating and staying at its peak position. And, with that said, being three-time, shot block leader, one of the top defenders in the league, been pretty much winner up to being defensive player of the year and different things of that nature, it definitely helped excel my career. And by me having such a success, me seeing the success that I had, I wanted to go out to my colleagues and try to introduce them to these products as far as with the minerals, and have them to understand what's going on with their bodies when they're going out, they're sweating out the minerals, using your calcium during play, and being able to replenish themselves with something that was healthy at the same time efficient.
So prior to that, nobody explained to you about sweat, how important what you're sweating out is replacing it back in. Prior to meeting Dr. Wallach, Mike Glenn, and of course myself, no one, because you were around nutritionists, you were around doctors, no one ever explained it to you in that manner.
No one ever really broke it down to me on what minerals are, how they work. We get the basic 4 food groups, and you need to be eating more carbohydrates and different things of that nature, but never to the detail on what helps build your body and what helps you sustain your body as far as how you losing sweat, how you losing your minerals through sweat and different things of that nature. No one ever sat down until I met you, Phil, Mike, and Dr. Wallach, and they really educated me on that.
And so now we have a crusade. We're trying to just expose this information to not only just athletes,
yes,
but to everybody who needs energy. Everybody needs these minerals. How often do you need them?
Oh, you need minerals, like I said, just like you have food. Every single day you need to replenish yourself with the right minerals, and to help have longevity, in life, to live with, being disease free. Different things of that nature, and being able to have a healthy lifestyle. That's what it's all about. That's our crusade, is to try to give everybody ultimate health.
Well, I tell you, that's a great crusade, and we thank God for you for Rebound FX, and I think we'll sign off with saying, let's go Rebound.
Let's go Rebound.
All right.
All right.